Hello, Oracles. Well, tonight we saw Nvidia beat earnings, give excellent guidance, announce a buyback. The entire market cheered it. After hours, Nvidia popped to almost $520. They did dip down under $500 at the time of this recording, but the entire market jumped afterwards as well, including Tesla stock. So we'll get into more details on all of that, what we might see from this going into Tesla's Q3 earnings as we get closer to that in October. We'll go over that as well as what might happen from Jackson Hole Symposium and Jerome Powell over the next couple of days in just a minute. All right, so looking at the charts for Tesla itself, again, we had mentioned yesterday we closed inside this channel here. Today we closed outside of this channel. So does this mean we have broken this downward trend? Let's give it a couple more days. Again, we've got the Jackson Hole Symposium going on the next couple of days. I want to see how we finish the week off before I say, yes, we have broken this downward trend. So we will pay attention to this. Again, we've got the gap down below down to 217.58. Got the gap up above up to 289.52. Could go in either direction. We'll pay attention to this. Perhaps we just trade sideways and we consolidate. We will wait and find out. And now, of course, the big news is what Nvidia did. So, here we are last week. We saw the gap up going into this week, just like we saw with Tesla. And then here we are. We saw the nice run up all day today. And then again, after hours, we're up another 6%, right around that $500 mark. So for me, I am not invested in Nvidia yet. I do have NVDY. That is one of the YieldMax ETFs that are out there. So this here just last week dipped down to 2050. I was adding a little bit more at these levels to lower my cost basis. Now we are up to 2440, which is over my cost basis. So I'm positive on it and getting the dividends. This is exactly what you want to see from a dividend. Now, this is not going to be one of those long-term growth dividend plays that are out there. This is a high yield dividend, but if it does track with Nvidia, this could play out very well in the medium term, maybe a year or so. Again, I'm going to keep you guys posted as what I do with this over time, but we do have this gap down here that was created as well. So these will also track the gaps that we see in Nvidia. So now speaking of those gaps, again, they fill 9 out of 10 times. We had a lot of talks today about how Nvidia this year is looking a lot like Tesla did in 2020, running up massively. We may be seeing, maybe they announce another split. Who knows? Again, don't know what's going on with the macro. This is one of those situations where people are like, Nvidia is never going to come down again. They're going to split. It's going to be crazy. Not to say it can't, but we said the same thing about Tesla stock, and it certainly did come down and filled a lot of those gaps. So again, the gaps for Nvidia, 435.78. We've got this gap down here to 395.30, and then this massive gap that goes down to 306. So if the market turns ugly, extremely ugly, we could see these gaps get filled. It does sound crazy. I'm well aware that it sounds crazy, but talking about stuff like this with Tesla also sounded crazy. Then it all happened, and that crazy was no longer crazy. It was reality. So again, not to come out here and be the bearer of bad news or squashing all the fun and excitement of the day, just that quick reminder of don't let FOMO get the best of you here. I think Nvidia is going to do great. It may very well never come down and fill these gaps, but you've got to keep it on your radar as a possibility, just because if you're in FOMO mode right now, thinking it's never going to come down, and it does, that's when you panic sell. So you have to take a step back and look at Nvidia, just like you've looked at your Tesla stock and say, all right, what are the fundamentals? What's my thesis on this company? What do I think about it long term? Where am I going with it? Am I swing trading? Am I actually investing long term? You take a look at these things. That's how you make your assessment as to what you're going to do with the stock itself. For me, I have not started a position yet, but I want to. I've got a lot of different dividend ETFs that have Nvidia in it. So it's not that I'm not in the stock. I am just not directly. So for me, I'm going to be waiting. I'm going to look to see what actually happens over the next 6 months when it comes to the market. What is the Fed going to do with rates? What is going to happen with inflation? Are we going to see the whole market pulling back? I don't know. So for me, I am Again, playing more on the dividend side of things for cash flow so that if we do get that massive pullback, I will have cash flow coming in to be able to take advantage of those opportunities as they arise. If it doesn't pull back, I'll just start my position a little bit higher, a little bit later, but I still think the company is going to do extremely well long term. So, very much like Tesla, even if I get in at a higher price, just keep on buying dollar cost average and you'll do perfectly fine over time. That's what I'm going to be doing. Again, not financial advice, but just those little reminders in there. Again, you guys can let me know in the comments below what you're going to be doing if you own Nvidia right now as well, and how you guys feel about these earnings. Now, Nvidia did say that they have chip demand that goes through next year. We know this. Tesla has been getting some chips from Nvidia. They just can't produce enough. They can't get enough compute from Nvidia. That's why Dojo is coming up and running. So Tesla is going to be doing that themselves. Don't need Nvidia, but Nvidia just cannot supply all of the chips that are needed to the people out there. Again, very much like Tesla in 2020 and 2021, where they just could not produce enough vehicles for all of the customers that were out there. Now we've hit that balancing point. Obviously, interest rates are hitting Tesla a lot harder than they would hit Nvidia, totally different markets, but Tesla is feeling that brunt right now. Was also having some discussions on X about, hey, if Nvidia is announcing a $25 billion buyback right now, could we potentially see a buyback from Tesla in Q3? I thought maybe they could. I still think it's potentially on the table. But when you look at things realistically, in an interest rate environment that we're in right now, very challenging for Tesla. This macro environment is probably the most challenging macro environment Tesla has faced since the housing crisis when Tesla first started. Obviously, Tesla's in a significantly better position now than they were back then. So there's no concerns about bankruptcy or anything like that right now. But is doing a buyback right now actually wise for Tesla? FSD is not fully solved yet. Their margins have been coming down. They're anticipating a lower production in Q3, potentially lower production in Q4 also. Do you really want to do a buyback during times like that? Probably not. Probably not the wisest of times to do them. Not to mention the fact that as we get closer to the end of the year, we'll know a better idea as to what's going on with the macro environment. If we get a massive market pullback, Tesla pulls back into the 100s again, that's a better time that Tesla would want to do a buyback anyway. And at that time, we'll have the Model 3 Highland out, which rumor has it the COGS are going to be significantly lower. COGS is cost of goods sold. So that's going to bring it down. For the last few years, Tesla's basically been flatlined around that $36,000 mark for the average cost to produce all of their vehicles. If they can bring the Model 3 down significantly, lower that cost, then also on top of that have the Cybertruck coming out, which should have bigger margins on it, and having the next generation platform vehicle coming out, which we're guessing might be that compact car, but either way they have said that is significantly lower cost. Having that coming out, FSD potentially getting solved, having more revenue coming in from that, they could be in a position where maybe end of 2024 would be a better time for them to do a buyback. I still think Tesla is going to end up doing it. May not happen as soon as a lot of us wanted it to happen, but I think they're going to do it. Again, perhaps we might see this 2025 being that massive year. Tesla, in 2025 could be next gen platform is really ramping. Cybertruck is up and ramping fully. FSD is solved and regulated. We now have robotaxis potentially hitting the roads. Energy is really taking off. They announced a buyback. A lot of things could be happening in 2025. Maybe that's when the buyback happens. Don't know for sure, obviously, but just looking at how things are playing out for Tesla itself, again, and talking with Peggy as well, seeing things playing out. It's one of those scenarios where what's happening to Nvidia right now is something we are going to see like Tesla, but 10x this in the future. So again, the patience is there. And to me, this is just that we may get a slightly more extended period of time for us to buy at these lower levels, which guys like me, I'm really going to appreciate that. I'm going to love seeing these numbers being lower just so I can add more at lower dollars because I still have my price targets. I still think we're going to hit those prices. End of this year, I have $275 as a price target. 2033, I have $3,300 as a price target. That is more than a 12x from where we are today. I would be totally happy with that. I have no problems with a 12x from where we are. And if I've got almost 2 more years to be able to accumulate more shares at these prices and still be able to get a 12x, but in less time, win-win. Big win for me, especially if I'm going to be having more cash flow coming in from all of my dividends, then I will have even more cash to add even more Tesla. Just the way I'm playing it. I'm excited about it. And again, looking at Tesla after hours, jumping up a little over 1%. We were over 240 at one point. So looks like we may get another gap up tomorrow. Just things to pay attention to going on. RSI is at 44.80. So again, creeping back up. We have seen it now go oversold. So does this mean we're going to be going back to overbought range again? Don't know. Just again, gonna have to follow this and see where it goes. And for those of you who are playing in TSLY, still holding strong in this downward channel, still have this gap down below us. But even TSLY is pushing up nicely, up 1% on the day, up almost 0.75% after hours. But again, this is something that Brad Ferguson talked about. If you are going to be going up and you want to see a better return in your portfolio without dividends, being in TSLA is going to be a better play than TSLY. For me, I just want to make sure I don't lose too much equity in TSLY and get those dividends in because the dividends are massive payouts. Really curious, especially with this bounce going on right now, what we're going to be getting for dividend yields next month. Those should be announced on September 7th. So overall, very exciting day in the market. Nice run up. The NASDAQ, the entire market is looking great. I added to quite a few of my dividend plays today, and I apologize I did not get them out to members and patrons. I will do that right now after this video, and I will try to do that every single morning. So all members and patrons will get all of my scheduled purchases for the day announced over there. I do put them up on X as well, but I usually get them out later. So I get my members and patrons the first look at all of those. I just missed it this morning. I made a mistake. My bad. I'm just still starting to do this brand new. So I'll make sure to get it out to you guys first thing in the morning, or I'll even do it the night before. So I'll have you guys, who's members and patrons, you'll get it the night before, and I'll put it over on X in the morning so everybody can see it there. But I like to take care of my members and patrons first. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Again, let me know how you feel about NVIDIA earnings. Let me know if you think this is going to hold. Let me know if you guys think that the Jackson Hole Symposium and Jerome Powell may be coming out to squash all of this excitement over the next couple of days, or if you think it's going to hold. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.